I'm Amy, I'm a physical therapist, and this week on Physio in Your Pocket, I'm going to talk about medial elbow pain, which in the medical community is known as medial epicondylitis or epicondylopathy, but more commonly is known as golfer's elbow. Now that is pain caused from overloading finger flexion, wrist flexion, or forearm pronation, and those muscles all attached to a bone on the inside of your elbow here, and often causes the pain and strain to be located right here. Now, though this is commonly known as golfer's elbow, it's often not caused by golf. So we are going to cover in this video what you do in the early stages of rehab, which is pretty non-specific to your sport. It kind of goes across everyone that has medial elbow pain. And then as you get into the later phases of rehab, you want to make the exercises you're doing much more sport specific for loading. So in other videos, I'm going to cover a few other activities that cause medial elbow pain. In particular, we're going to cover climbing and kettlebell exercises. So for the early stages of rehab, this is where you have to deload the injury, and how much you deload it will depend on how acute your injury is, how painful it is, what stage of tissue healing you're in. So this is sort of the tricky part, and you're gonna have to assess that based on your own personal situation. So you might be able to get away with continuing your activity the way you are and just adding in your strength exercises, or modifying your activity a little bit so you're doing it less intense or less frequent, or changing the other activities you're doing throughout the day. Or for some people, it's just gonna mean you have to take 3 weeks off and really let this settle down. If you did end up taking some time off, once you're through those phases, what you wanna do is start progressively adding load to strengthen the tissues back up again till you can get back to your activity you're targeting. Now that's going to involve a few things. That's going to involve increasing your range so that you've got more range of motion to your wrist extension and finger extension, and strengthening the whole muscle tendon system through that range. So it's not just adding load, but it's adding load and control through that range of motion. So I'm going to show you 3 exercises here. As you add them in the order I've presented them in, and make sure you've got good control of one before you add the next one in. These are all good for early to mid stages of rehab. After this, you're going to want to add more sport specific or activity specific and higher end loading in. This stretch is for your wrist and finger flexors. It's an active stretch, meaning you actually want to lift your fingers and wrist up while you're stretching into it. Keep your fingers lifted while you lean forward over top of your wrist. Once you're at the end of range, you can add to the stretch by lifting and stretching your fingers. Again, actively lift your fingers while you're using other hand to lift and stretch those fingers. Hold this stretch at the end of range for 15 to 20 seconds. Then come back out of it, again, keeping your hand and fingers lifted, and repeat. This is an early rehab exercise for ulnar deviation and pronation. It's an isometric exercise. You want to use a light weight. I've got a 5-pound weight here. Keeping your elbow straight, lift your wrist back behind you and keep your palm curled under and the fleshy part of your elbow turned in. Hold this position for 10 seconds, then bring it back down to the start and repeat. This is a strength exercise for wrist flexion with isometric holds. Use a light weight again here. Start with the weight at the bottom of your fingers, slightly curled in. Curl your fingers and wrist up. Stop when your wrist is straight with your forearm. Hold for 5 seconds, then continue to curl up till you're all the way at the end of your wrist flexion range. Hold that for 5 seconds, then slowly lower down to the start position. So those are just a few exercises that are useful for medial elbow pain. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out. You can reach me at info@amyphysio.ca. Bye for now.